Brandon, there's always those situations where we see a family try to divide things equally amongst the kids, and that forces them basically to get along and to be in business together. Can you talk about some of the challenges you see when we have these families that are equally divided in the assets?
Yeah, unfortunately, those good intentions of making sure that our kids are treated fairly have negative consequences. And that's when you're forcing your children to be business partners together. Because if your children don't have the same goals and objectives or desires to want to own and run a business and deal with the day-to-day fluctuations of the commodity markets, the weather markets, and they're sitting back and just wanting an income stream, and some years that income stream may not be there, well, then you're forcing your kids to have conversations that may lead into arguments. And those arguments may be, well, why did you put up that new pivot? I needed cash this year. I wanted to take my family on a vacation, and now you're putting up a new pivot and there's no discretionary cash flow there. So you're forcing your child into a business arrangement to where if they all have control, if they all have a voting say, then they're going to be arguing how should that family farm or ranch be run. So if it truly is your intention that your kids have some equity ownership in that family farm or ranch, then you need to structure things to where you're putting that active farm child in the driver's seat, allowing them to have the control, but yet the non-active children either to be income beneficiaries if the income's there, but yet they also have that emotional attachment to be able to go use the land, touch the land, participate in it if they choose so. So a lot of times that may be with trust, may be with LLCs, it may just be a simply family partnership. But each one of those will have either an operating agreement or a trust agreement that dictates the terms of who has what control and what happens. And for a lot of our family farms and ranches, they think they have these agreements, but they're general templates and they don't address the issue at hand. I mean, I've seen trust agreements where it gives the active farm child the right to cash rent the ground, and the trust was drafted 20 years ago, and they may say, well, he or she gets to cash rent the ground at $100 an acre. And then the off-farm kids are going, wait a second, $100 an acre, that's a sweetheart deal. That's not fair. Okay, so a lot of times when we're building these documents, working with the attorneys, working with the CPAs and building these documents, they have to be drafted by a true expert that understands agriculture, that understands the farm or ranch operation. So what your intentions are today are still applicable 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. So instead of writing an actual dollar amount in there, maybe you reference the University of Nebraska published rate that comes out each spring. Maybe you go down to your local FSA office and see what the county average is, but you reference an independent source per that cash rental agreement language, so the family doesn't have to argue about it. They can see that it's an independent source, it's published, it's fair, it's usually right at or slightly below what the market rate is in that area. So those agreements become very important because we want to make sure that we're structuring the terms of any situation prior to them ever taking place.